أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Welcome. Today we're going to spend some time with a few really profound questions from the Quran Surah al-Wāqiʿah. These are questions that gently but powerfully challenge our modern ideas about control and self-sufficiency.
You know, our whole culture is built around this idea of the self-made person, right? The individual who seems to have mastered their own destiny. But this ancient text, it asks us to pause and look a little closer, to really peer beneath the surface at the very fabric of our existence. So, let's dive in. Okay, so here's our roadmap. We're going to walk through this in 5 steps. First, we'll look at this modern illusion of being self-made. Then, we'll listen to the Quran's gentle questions. After that, we'll unpack the outer and the deeper inner meanings of these questions. And finally, we'll see how all of this leads us to a beautiful conclusion about worship. So let's get into it. What's so interesting is that this passage doesn't start with some big condemnation. It starts with a simple, really sharp observation that modern life, it kind of trains us, almost without us noticing, to believe that we are in total control of everything, our projects, our results, our successes. But the Quran offers a totally different way of seeing things. It doesn't condemn our effort, not at all. Instead, it just gently exposes the limits of that effort. It dismantles this whole idea of being self-made. The logic is just so simple and powerful. If you accept that you were created to begin with, how can you then deny the one who has the power to bring you back again? And this is where it gets really beautiful. The method here isn't a lecture. It's not a list of commands. Instead, it's a series of patient, rhythmic, and incredibly powerful questions. Questions about the very things that sustain us, that make up our world. It's an invitation to reflect, not just to obey. So where does it start? With the very beginning of human life. It draws our attention to our own incredibly small, humble origins. And the point here isn't to make us feel small in a bad way. It's a tool for humility. It's meant to gently crack open our arrogance and let a little bit of gratitude seep in. And then comes the core question. Are we the ones creating? The text makes it so clear. We, as human beings, we participate. We contribute a means, an action. But we are not the creators. That act of bringing something into existence from non-existence, that belongs to God alone. Now the questioning builds. It moves from our own creation to what sustains us, the food we eat. Think about it. We can do all the work of farming, right? We can prepare the soil, we can plant the seed, we can water it, but can any one of us actually command that seed to split open and grow? And here's that question again. Drawing that really sharp, clean line between our part and the ultimate source of that miracle. We play a role, we participate, but we don't make it grow. It's such a simple truth, but it's an incredible teacher of humility. The pattern continues, this time with something so basic, so essential to our life that we completely take it for granted: the water we drink. The Quran asks us to just stop for a second and really think about it. You see what this question does? It makes the ordinary sacred. It takes a simple rain shower out of the category of just weather and reframes it as an act of mercy, something sent down for us, a gift. So you see the pattern here, right? Across all these examples, our own existence, our food, our water, there's this one fundamental distinction being made. Our role is participation. The divine role is origination. We are deeply involved, but we're not the source. We're more like stewards, not masters. Okay, so these verses have a really clear, direct meaning on the surface. It's what scholars call the zahir, or the outer apparent meaning. And this is what the great classical commentators really focused on. And I love this insight from the scholar al-Razi. He pointed out that this isn't some dry, abstract philosophy. It's theology that's made personal, made intimate. It points to things we see and touch and rely on every single day, and just asks us to truly see them for what they are. So the early commentators would explain that these verses are, first and foremost, a powerful proof of God's power. They teach us that our actions are a kind of sacred trust, a stewardship, not absolute ownership. And they make a powerful argument. If God could create us the first time, why is it so hard to believe he can do it again? But there's another layer. Beyond that outer theological point, the spiritual masters saw something deeper, an inner meaning, the batin. And this meaning is aimed squarely at the heart. It's about gently humbling the ego, the nafs, and waking us up spiritually.
And wow, al-Ghazali just hits the nail on the head here. He talks about one of the heart's most subtle diseases. We start enjoying the gift and we forget the giver. And slowly over time, that blessing starts to feel like an entitlement. These questions are the cure. They're meant to wake us up from that spiritual sleep.
This whole understanding leads us straight to a core spiritual state, tawakkul, and it's so important to get this right. Tawakkul isn't about being passive and doing nothing, not at all. It's an active, truthful reliance. It means you do everything in your power. You plant the seed, you work hard, but your heart is tied to the one who makes it grow, not to the outcome itself. So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? How do we take this ancient wisdom and actually apply it to our lives today? Well, the text suggests a very clear path from just knowing something to actually living it, from reflection to action. And here are some just beautiful, practical ways to do that. Simple things. Starting our tasks with a conscious recognition of God, Bismillah. Taking a moment to actually thank Him for ordinary things like a glass of water. Pausing before we claim full credit for a success. And, just as importantly, returning to that trust when things don't go our way without bitterness. In the end, where does all this lead? All this seeing, this reflecting on creation, it funnels down into one single powerful response: glorify your Lord. The real proof that you've understood isn't arrogance about what you know. It's a state of awe for what you've been shown. And this beautiful personal prayer, this manijat, just wraps it all up so perfectly. It's the summary of the whole journey, isn't it? The journey from the illusion of self-sufficiency back to a life of remembrance, gratitude, and awe. Just beautiful. This reflection was put together with gratitude by Mir Ali Shah, a seeker who shares through the Living the Wisdom of the Quran platform. And we ask for forgiveness and acceptance for any errors, especially any AI-related mispronunciations in this explainer. And so, we'll leave you with that final question to ponder. Where in your own life have you maybe mistaken your management for true mastery? Thank you for joining us.